This is just helping me actually work through these issues. And ultimately the court said, we don't know that he really meant this to be threatening. So as such, they ruled that this was a free speech case, even though you could argue that there was bullying, even though you could argue that there were threats toward federal agent, even though you could argue that divorce was actually kind of an emotional, you could argue kind of a thing. Other questions about articles. Webcams, land grab. The other one that's kind of big up here was child porn. Okay, y'all are good. Go ahead, Marty.
Can you talk about the webcam?
What was the webcam one? Go ahead.
When they were doing a study, college kids were doing a study, and they put webcams in new drivers' cars, and whenever they would suddenly brake or speed up really fast, the webcam would turn on and see the front of the car and then what they were doing.
Yeah, this was really dealing with who are the worst drivers on the road. And I'm not going to get into the generalizations on camera that many of y'all made about some of the different people or groups that are terrible drivers. But for our purposes, the worst drivers are typically, I believe, at least according to that article, 16 and 24. Okay, 16 and 24. And as such on this, they began to put these cameras in. And the camera, there would be one that was on the dash that would see what's going on in the car. And then there would be one in the grill that would see what the driver saw. And you hit it just perfect, Julia. If you did something in the car that would change the G-forces, so if you swerved really dramatically, or if you hit the brakes really hard, or if you accelerated too much, well then at that point the camera would kick on. Does anybody remember how long it would kick on for?
30 seconds.
It was about 20 or 30 seconds. And then what would happen with this footage?
Send it to their parents.
Send it to the parents. Now, the thought is, and this is a freedom versus order debate, because it's your car, it's your property, it's your freedom versus order. If you're doing something in the car that's going to make you less safe, then maybe the state has the right to regulate this. So they were looking for things like eating cheeseburgers or putting on makeup or texting or doing things on your cell phone. However, so it could catch you, and we talked about how parents would get upset. What could it also do, though? Could,
help prove you.
Prove innocence.
Innocent.
It could actually, yeah, it could. It could actually exonerate you. So if you're a good driver, I mean, the camera, the tape don't lie. The argument would be you actually could get exonerated that, in fact, you did the right things in that circumstance. So kind of keep that in mind. In the end, did it work?
No.
Yes.
What was the percentage?
80% were better drivers.
I think it was 86%. At the end of 1 year, the number of emails that went back to parents because the G-forces had been altered in the car, 86% fewer from the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year. And stress to you that if you were smoking weed in the car, they're not going to send that back. If you were kicking it in the car and that affected the G-forces somehow and the camera came on, they wouldn't send that back to parents either. These were driving-related issues. Driving-related issues. Go ahead, Tony.
With land grab video.
Remember land grab? Go ahead, Levi.
Wasn't that the one that dealt with eminent domain?
It was the one that dealt with eminent domain. And do you remember what state that was? Anybody? Connecticut. The New London Land Development Corporation. They went in, and who were they trying to exercise eminent domain on? The poor neighborhood. And in fact, what were they going to build? Motel, I hear you. The hotels, yeah. Hotels, malls, restaurants, high-rise apartment buildings. Yeah, you get the idea on this. And what was different about this than the typical eminent domain? And this was for private gain. Not everybody would be able to live there or shop there or go to the hotel there, these kinds of things. So question for you, how did they justify this?
They would use that money they profit to give to schools.
They did. They said that by building these things, we're going to be raising taxes. Property taxes, sales taxes, income taxes, meaning the government is going to have a lot more money for schools, for roads, for police, for fire, for all of these services that everybody would benefit. And what got y'all mad, or at least some of y'all that weren't selfish?
Where would
People out of homes.
Where would the lower class folks go? Where would the people in those neighborhoods go? Because they hadn't broken any laws. That their property was still their property. It was important to them. Why is it that government is stepping on this? Ultimately, in court, the Supreme Court said, yes, they could exercise eminent domain in this regard. Ultimately, did they build that mall? No, they are still fighting in court about this. And this article was from a good 10 years ago. But eminent domain has been opened up, so it's not just for parks and roads and things like this, but in fact you can do things that might be more private or for profit. So kind of keep those thoughts in mind. Moving, go ahead. Oh, no, I guess Kelly doesn't have anything. So this basically deals with these. I think y'all remember the child porn. If you remember, there were two articles. One was dealing with sexting, and one was dealing with digitally remastered porn. Sexting, if you remember, you got to prove that somebody posted something about you, and that in fact it could cause you emotional duress. Do you remember the digitally remastered porn? Was that legal?
No.
It is not. It doesn't matter if you want to make yourself a 14-year-old or make yourself a MILF. The bottom line is that you cannot digitally remaster yourself. That is not legal. Going back to the terms, and I know I'm coming up on time, and I got to give an exam here in a few minutes. Don't worry about devolution, revolution. Don't worry about dual federalism. However, tax and spend, commerce power, full faith and credit, and privileges and immunities, and we have been through these just this week. Those four terms, and under the powers Roman numeral in the outline, are good to go. And in the beginning, we've talked about this, although I didn't necessarily bring it up in this chapter. In the beginning is basically saying that the federal government, the states in the beginning of the country, actually exercised more power than the federal government did. And that kind of goes back to the Articles of Confederation and even some of the early decisions in the country. The only article that y'all have from federalism is Oklahoma abortion. Do y'all remember that one?
Yes.
What were the two laws from Oklahoma?
You had to look at the if
Go
you were-
ahead.
If you were getting an abortion, you had to look at it.
If you were
Like-
getting an abortion, you had to look
No,
at
like
it?
if you wanted to get an abortion, you had to look at like the what's it called, the sonogram.
The ultrasound.
Oh.
Oklahoma passed a law that said that if you wanted to get an abortion, and this could be for any reason, this could be a birth control reason, this could be for health of the mother, this could be that maybe there was some injury or some possible disability to the fetus. Bottom line is that if you wanted to do this for any reason, you were going to have to look at the ultrasound. And Oklahoma's argument was, picture's worth 1,000 words. The more information that you have, in fact, the better the decision that you're actually going to make. And they were kind of, what was the word that it seemed like, the two words actually? Guilt tripping, yeah. It was like they were guilt tripping you in showing you this. What was the second law?
They don't have to tell you about any problems with the fetus.
If there is a health issue with the fetus, and this is not if you wanted an abortion, you're going to a doctor, you're going to a checkup, you want to see what's going on with the fetus. The court, or the Oklahoma legislature, passed a bill that said that they do not have to tell you and if there's a health issue. And the irony of this is that for the first law, Oklahoma's saying, education, education, information. If we educate you, you'll make the decision that we want you to make. In the second article, they're saying, no, we're not going to tell you everything because we fear that you might actually be more likely to abort. Legislature passed them. What'd the governor do? Vetoed them. Legislature overrode both laws, and then ultimately the courts struck both of them down a few years later. So this is no longer valid law in Oklahoma. Do y'all have any questions about anything?
So we're not even on the ideology, right?
Not yet. So don't worry about the ideology. Don't worry about devolution, revolution. Don't worry about dual federalism. Make sure that you have privileges and immunities on there. We just went over it today. Yeah.
Are there like notes for any of this, or like a packet on Blackboard?
No, this is the packet that we're filming right now.
And then, so like the best things to study are like the articles and then just these terms in the book.
The articles and the terms, and to be honest with you, if you just read the chapter, that's probably the worst thing you could do. Because so much of this has been class discussion. The reading quiz is designed to be about the chapter. The scenarios are designed to be about the chapter. This is designed to be about articles in class. Go ahead.
What are the written response questions going to be like?
I think I'm going to give you 9 or 10, and I'm going to ask you to answer 6. All of them are going to be 5-point questions. It will not be on things like Constitutional Convention or immigration tie, but almost every other article that we've had are fair game for these. The bulk of them will be more article inclined, but I mean, we spent all day Monday in all 3 classes dealing with Commerce Power. Commerce Power is probably a good one for a short answer question. And make sure when you deal with the Chapter 3 terms, full faith and credit, tax and spend, commerce, privileges and immunities, make sure that you're good with examples. Anytime you can link an article with a term or an example to an article or whatever the case might be as specific as you can, because I'm going to stress this to you right now. The multiple choices are going to be tricky. You can answer 6 out of those 10 5-point questions. That doesn't mean that it's just going to be worth 5 points. If you write and really explain something in a specific, you can get way more than 5 points on a short answer question. So kind of keep that in mind. Anything else?
When is that going up on video?
I'm going to go upload it now. I'm going to go give an exam at 2,
Okay.
and then I may put the links in there after the 2 o'clock
Okay,
exam.
sounds good.
Okay? Good luck, y'all. Have a good day.
Hey, good luck.